Recently, I was on a call with one of my friends who also likes to make beats, and he had mentioned that the main thing that he believes is holding him back is his sound selection. And if you listen to any producer on the planet, they will all agree that the biggest bottleneck in most producers' career is their sound selection. And don't just take it from me, take it from these guys.
Sound selection is like the most important thing.
Sound selection will make beat.
Melody sound selection.
Now, over the past 8 months, I've made about 220 full beats. Not samples, not loops, but full beats. If I'm being honest with myself, I still have a long way to go. But I've made it pretty far from where I began. I mean, listen to this. And listen to that. Pretty big difference. So today I'm just going to go over my thought process and how I think about choosing sounds when I'm making a beat. Now, if you don't want to watch the rest of this video, that's fine. I went ahead and did the sound selection for you. On my MacBook, I have over 5,000 sounds that I've collected over the years, and I went through all of them and I selected sounds that will always work together. Essentially, all I did was separate the highs, the mids, and the lows. So if you don't want to think about your sound selection and you just want to pick stuff that sounds good, all you have to do is pick a sound from each of the folders and they're guaranteed to work every single time. If that sounds nice to you, check out the link in the description. Anyways, let's just hop straight into FL. Now, off rip, the end goal when it comes to sound selection is to be able to use your ear. Everything becomes a lot simpler when you can just use your ear and hear the frequencies that need to be filled. And the only way to do this, and this might sound crazy, is to make more beats. I know, crazy concept, but I promise you the best way to develop your ear is to make more beats. If you take one thing away from this video, it's that you should be making more beats. For those who actually are interested in learning, let's dive into a formula that I use personally when I'm thinking about my sound selection. Number 1. Live sounds go with live sounds. Analog sounds go with analog sounds. Now, this one's pretty self-explanatory, but let me just give you an example so you can hear what I'm talking about. Here we have this piano melody. Pretty simple, but we can both agree that it needs a top line. I've created a little melody and selected 2 separate sounds. I just want you to tell me which one you think sounds better. So first, we have this violin. And next, we have this analog lead. Now, to my ear, it's pretty obvious which one sounds better. The violin. It just sits on top of the piano way better, and it's just way more emotional. Now, let's reverse this example and see what happens when we take this piano melody and play it in a synth sound. Let's try the violin first. All right, now let's try the analog sound. Notice how the analog sound kind of sits inside the synth sound. It almost acts as one cohesive sound, whereas the violin kind of sticks out, and that high end really sticks out as opposed to the analog lead with the synth sound. Perfect. And really the goal of your sound selection is to not be able to distinguish the sound. You kind of want it to sound like one cohesive piece of music. And remember, there are no rules in music. So at the end of the day, this is just a guideline. If it sounds good, it sounds good. Now this next tip might change the way you look at music. At least it did for me. So all you're gonna wanna do is go to your master chain and just put a parametric EQ on. And I went ahead and copied this same melody into a different sound. Just put the EQ on the master and open it up. And this is the frequency spectrum. The goal is to fill up this entire spectrum. So let's see what we got right now. So we have a lot of low mids, right around in here, right? So let's see what happens when we try to add another sound. Ew, that is disgusting. But let's take a look at why. If we put an EQ on the bad sound and we open it up, let's see how the two EQs compare to each other. You'll notice there's a lot of overlapping here in the mids. And that's where you get that muddiness and that just gross sound that you just do not want. So let's try a sound that will sound a little bit better. And let's just hear it first. Notice how there's not much clashing going on. And if we look at the EQ, you can see how one sound takes up the mids and the other sound that complements it takes up the highs. You're filling up the whole spectrum. Now, obviously, we need a bass. So let's start first with a bad bass. That is so gross. That is just disgusting. But let's see why. We put an EQ on the bass and look at it. It's almost the same exact frequencies that we've already filled up, which is why there's so much clashing that you can hear. Now let's try a good bass. Sounds way clearer. And if we look at the EQ of the bass, it's mainly hitting in the spots that we want it to fill up. Now if I boost it here, we're gonna start to get a little bit more muddiness because these frequencies are already being filled up by the other parts of the melody. All right, so that's the frequency spectrum. Pretty much the entire goal of the frequency spectrum is to fill it all up. But just be careful when your drums come in, you are gonna wanna cut out that low end because you don't want the drums clashing with the melody. If you wanna see how I mix my drums, check out this video. Now this last tip is just kind of a little word of advice. Practice making loops for yourself. A lot of people just want to do drums, and honestly, I don't really get that at all. Once you start focusing entirely on the sample, your melodies get a lot better. And that's the quickest way to train your ear is honestly just to make samples all day. You can't make a sample, like, what are you doing, honestly? Sometimes it's good to focus an entire creative session on only the melody. Your melodies are gonna start sounding a lot better, a lot fuller, a lot clearer when you put all of your creative energy into just the melody and then leave the drums for a later session. There's also a very quick way to train your ear. The more melody loops you make, the better you are at making melody loops. It's that simple. That's all I got. I hope you gained some value from this video. If you want to see more, let me know below. And if you want to see me using my frequency flow kit to make a full beat, tune back in next Monday and I'll see you there. All right. Thank you for watching.